Welcome to this week's KBJ Weekly Pan-African News Roundup. Here we serve you with all the major news headlines from across Africa and the African diaspora. My name is Joseph Amakwata.
The headlines: William Ruto wins Kenyan elections. Emirates Airlines to suspend flights from Nigeria. Super Falconets soaring high at the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup. Deputy President William Ruto has been declared the winner of Kenya's presidential elections. He narrowly beat his rival Raila Odinga, taking 50.5% of the votes according to the official results. The announcement was delayed amid scaffolds and allegations of vote rigging by Mr. Odinga's campaign. 4 of the 7 members of the Electoral Commission refused to endorse the results, saying it was an opaque process. Mr. Odinga's party agent earlier alleged that there were some irregularities and mismanagements in the elections. This was the first time that Mr. Ruto, who is 55 years old, had run for president. He had served as deputy president for 10 years but fell out with President Uhuru Kenyatta, who backed Mr. Odinga to succeed him. The former prime minister, who got 48.8% of the votes, was running for president for the 5th time. Mr. Odinga says he is going to challenge the results with all legal options available. Mali has accused France of violating its airspace and delivering weapons to armed groups, the latest in the barrage of accusations that have strained the relationship between the West African country and its former colonial power. In a letter dated to the United Nations Security Council last Monday, Mali's Foreign Affairs Minister Abdoulaye Diop said its airspace has been breached more than 50 times this year, mostly by French forces using drones, military helicopters, and fighter jets. It is said that 53 French soldiers had died during the 9-year mission in Mali and that France had killed hundreds of the members of armed groups in order to improve security for Malians. Bamako has reportedly accused Paris of attempting to destabilize the country, just as Russian mercenaries hired by the military government to expand their reach in the country. France on Monday completed the withdrawal of its troops from Mali, ending a 9-year operation in the country at the center of the Sahel region's spiraling security crisis. The accusation marks a new low in relations between Mali and the former colonial power, as Western powers gradually see their influence slipping in the Sahel. According to the Dubai-based airline, the West African country has failed to repatriate millions of dollars of its funds. The airline said it took the difficult decision to order to limit further losses, citing circumstances beyond their control in a statement on Thursday, August 18th. Emirates announced in July that it has an $85 million awaiting repatriation from Nigeria, a figure it says has been rising by more than $10 million every month. Emirates has tried every avenue to address the ongoing challenges in repatriating funds from Nigeria and have made considerable efforts to initiate dialogue with the relevant authorities for their urgent intervention to help find a viable solution, the airline said, adding that regrettably there has been no progress. Other international airlines operating in Nigeria also have revenues trapped in the country, which the International Air Transport Association said in June amounted to an amount of $450 million. A prominent Chadian rebel leader who has been in exile for years after trying to overthrow former President Idriss Déby Itno has returned to N'Djamena on Thursday, 2 days before a national dialogue between the civilian and armed opposition and the ruling junta. Timan Adimi, the leader of the Union of Resistance Forces (UFR), landed at the airport of N'Djamena where 50 relatives were waiting for him. Mr. Adimi is due to take part from Saturday in a major inclusive national dialogue which should lead to free and democratic elections and a transfer of power to civilians. Ethiopia's government has described the statement made by the World Health Organization's Director General that the crisis in the country's Tigray region is the worst disaster on earth as unethical, and his assertion that the lack of attention from global leaders may be due to Tigrayans' skin color. The spokeswoman for Ethiopia's Prime Minister on Thursday told journalists that the comments made by the WHO chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus were unbecoming of such a high-profile position. Berlin Seyum suggested that Tedros, himself an ethnic Tigrayan, should recuse himself from his post if he wants to talk that way. The WHO chief, in an emotional statement on Wednesday at the press briefing, asserted that 6 million people in Tigray have been under siege for the last 21 months because of the conflicts that erupted there in late 2020 between Ethiopia and Tigray forces. Kabyle, the world's most followed TikToker, became an Italian citizen last Wednesday. The 22-year-old was born in Senegal, then moved to Italy as a toddler and was raised in a poor area of the town of Chivasso outside of Turin, a solemn ceremony for a playful personality. Senegalese-born and TikTok megastar Kabi became an Italian citizen last Wednesday. The one who arrived in Italy as a toddler swore to be faithful to the Italian Republic and to observe the constitution and the state laws. The head of the Africa Investment Forum and senior director of the Africa Development Bank, Chinelo Anohu, has called for stronger strategic partnership and greater involvement of African sovereign wealth funds to rebuild the continent's economies following the COVID-19 pandemic. Anohu made the call while giving a keynote address to Brown Capital Management Forum's third high-level meeting for Africa Sovereign Wealth Funds on August 11th. The Africa Investment Forum is Africa's premier investment marketplace to accelerate transactions that close Africa's investment gap. The Wilson Center, a Washington, D.C. think tank, hosted a two-day event titled Strengthening the Role of African Sovereign Wealth Funds in the International Financial System. Representatives of 16 African sovereign wealth funds attended the meeting, the first held in person since 2019. Various international financial agencies, U.S. government officials, and members of the diplomatic corps also attended the event. Anohu said that coronavirus crisis has eroded 20 years of development gains in just 2 years. 40 million Africans have been pushed into extreme poverty, especially women and youth, as the pandemic exposed the system vulnerabilities in Africa's physical and social infrastructure, she said. A new monument at the state capitol will honor African American veterans from Louisiana and the contributions they've made to the protection of the state and property. Governor John Bell Edwards said this will be the first monument of its kind in the state capitol complex. He said the project has been a labor of love and all involved and hopes it will serve as a piece of history for anyone touring the area. It is not lost on me that so many African American women felt the call to serve their country even when the country wasn't serving them, with the equality and dignity that they deserved, said Mr. Edwards. From those who served in the Civil War at the Siege of Port Hudson to Operation Enduring Freedom, the monument will recognize those who made the ultimate sacrifices. The 2022 Chaliwate Street Art Festival was on Monday launched with a meditative procession through the streets of Jamestown, a suburb of Accra. Chaliwate Street Art Festival is an alternative platform that brings art, music, design, dance, and performance onto the streets. The community-based festival is an annual event which takes place in Jamestown, one of Accra's most historic communities, and targets exchange between Ghana-based and international artists creating and appreciating art together. Mentis Ayikwe, festival director of Chaliwate Street Art Festival, said that this year, organizers will explore oral tradition and literature as an art form on the theme Stargates of Africa. He said the annual festival was positioning African oral history to open opportunities and ideas for the development of the African continent. Nigerian under-20 women's national football team has advanced to the quarterfinals of the ongoing FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in Costa Rica. Nigerian rounded up their group stage schedule at the 2022 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup with an impressive spanking of Canada in Aljazeera on Wednesday night. The Falconets had sealed their place in the quarterfinals of the competition after their 1-0 victory over South Korea last Sunday, but proved their supremacy in Group C with a convincing win over their group opponents, Canada. This talented team, who earlier won their opening game of the tournament by defeating heavyweights France by 1-0. They finished on top of their group with a 100% record. They will face Netherlands in the next stage of the competition. 4 African football stars have made a 30-man shortlist for the 2022 Ballon d'Or award. African Player of the Year, Sadio Mane, is joined by former teammate at Liverpool, Mohamed Salah, Dortmund Sebastian Halle, and Riyad Mahrez of Manchester City. The list released last Friday also includes 5-time winner Cristiano Ronaldo, while holder Lionel Messi misses alongside Paris Saint-Germain teammate Neymar Jr. The winner of the award will be announced later in the year in France.
That will be all for this week's KBJ Weekly Pan-African News Roundup. You can subscribe to this channel if you haven't and click on the notification bell to stay updated always. You can also follow us on all our social media platforms for more updates. Thank you very much.